Kadosh Baruch Hu, Masechet Yevamot Daf Kavchet Amud Aleph 28a1. We were just mentioning that when the Gemara comes and it says cholzot, it means lechatechila that they do chalitza. That means that's what they have to do adin lechatchila. So you can't come and say that all of a sudden now they could do yibum instead of chalitza. Okay, so says the Gemara on the top the Elmaleh. So why don't we just say that the Rabbi Yochanan says v'memi karadin, you could permit yibum, right, to the first one after you do chalitza to the second one. But the reason why we said the two sisters do chalitza and not yibum is because gezerah din makadim v'chalitza shona bereisha. Because maybe you're going to come and you're going to do chalitza to the first one in the beginning, and then the brother, right, which means the other yavam, will come and do yibum to the second one. Now we say, if the Mishnah was teaching us that you're allowed to do chalitza first, one of the brothers, and then afterwards the other one will do it, so therefore it's going to come a mistake, because then they're going to do the opposite. They'll first do chalitza to the first one, and then afterwards he's going to do yibum to the second one. Now, what's the difference? The difference is that the second one is a sur to do yibum, because she was a sur during the time when she fell in front of the brother. So once she fell in front of the brother, once she's a surah leolam, she's always prohibited. Okay? So says the Gemara, it also can't be that way, because it says cholzot velo mityabmot. When it says the words velo mityabmot ktani, teleka din yibum hacha klal, there's no din of yibum. It's not that, no. You could do chalitza or yibum, but it all depends how you do it. The first one first, second one second. No. When it says velo mityabmot, means at all. You cannot do it. So says the Gemara, so why don't we just say that the reason why they have to do chalitza is gezerah shema yamut ve'asur levatel mitzat yivamim. Meaning it's not because of zikah. It's only because that you're not allowed to do, right? Because if you hold that it's zikah, so therefore it's achot zekukato. But it's not because of zikah. Rather, it's because you're being mevatel the mitzvah of yibum, which means that if we're going to permit one of them to do yibum, we're going to suspect that maybe afterwards the brother will die. And then what's going to happen is that it's going to be vatel, the mitzvah vibum, from the second sister. So therefore, since you're going to be vatel from the second sister, because what happens is that you have two brothers married to two sisters. One brother dies. If you're going to permit him now doing yibum to him, you're not going to say it's a chod zekukato, because there's no zikah, there's nothing there. No, you're going to say that maybe what's going to happen is that the next brother will die, and now you have the second sister falling in front of him, and now you can't do anything. So therefore, you're being vatel mitzvah yibum. So he comes and he says, Rabbi Yochanan lemitalu chaish. Rabbi Yochanan does not suspect for death. Meaning, what are we saying here? That the guy has to die, and now that he dies, now you're going to be vatel the mitzvah yivamim. He doesn't suspect for death. So says the Gemara, Elmaleh. So what do we just say? That Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbi Lazari, right? Which means Rabbi Yochanan holds that our Mishnah is like Rabbi Lazar. The Amar that he says, Kevan she'amda alav sha'a achad b'isur, ne'esar lemit, which means it's actually going to be a machloket. But according to Shtat Rabbi Lazar, the second that the woman was prohibited once, she's always prohibited, meaning she can never come back to a heter standpoint. So therefore, if right now, right, what happens is the guy dies. So now you're going to do chalitza to one. The second that one brother does chalitza to one, now the second brother could do the yibum to the other sister, because now there's no problem. So he says, no, the second that they were prohibited onto him for one moment, come on, no, Kaddish, there's nothing else what to do. Yeah? So answers the Gemara, Mid Seifa Rabbi Lazar, Reisha Lav Rabbi Lazar. He says, no, from the Seifa of Mishnah, since in the Seifa of our Mishnah it said that it's going to be Rabbi Lazar, so therefore the Reisha of our Mishnah was not Rabbi Lazar. That was a Seifa, let me just check, where it says here, where it says at the bottom, where it says, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, v'chulu 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 v'chulu. So now he comes and he says, if this is Rabbi Eliezer Omer and this is now the entire Seifa, so therefore the Reisha, where it says at the beginning of the Perek, Kavav Amud Aleph, where it says over here, Arba'a achim, shnayim mehem nesuot, shtei achayot netu nesuim et achayot, harelu cholzov lo mityabmot v'chule v'chule, that is not Rabbi Eliezer, right? In the footnote, it comes out and it says, from the words of the Gemara, it looks that in our Mishnah, it should say Rabbi Lazar, and not like that we have Rabbi Eliezer. And apparently that was also what's written over there in footnote number 4. But if you look in the Bach, it's actually something different. Rabbi Eliezer. Yeah, in our Bach Aleph. Elmaleh Rabbi Elazar says the Bach Rabbi Eliezer Ken Tzarich Lomar v'chem bechol ha'amud. That means according to that, the entire amud should be Rabbi Eliezer, not Rabbi Elazar. Okay, and the Shitat Bach. But other people say no. That means Be'emet, just like here it's written Rabbi Elazar, also in our Mishnah it should have been written Rabbi Elazar. I've got a vav there. It's the Mesorah Tashas. Tosfot the Kaman Tibur Matchil Rabbi Eliezer. Tosfot Kavchet Amud Aleph Rabbi Eliezer. Yeah. Look in Tosfot Bayas. Elmaleh Rabbi Elazar Hainu Rabbi Elazar da Choletz later on in Memalef Amud Aleph. Titani Gabe Shomeret Yavan Shekadesh Lachivit V'Chule. Right? V'lo mitbe'ev v'kuntruf Pires Dainu Rabbi Eliezer v'perek Bet Shmuel. Right? Kaftet Amud Aleph. Sorry, Kuftet Amud Aleph. Right? Okay, so there's a whole question here. Exactly which Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Eliezer. But fine. Says the Gemara. Elmaleh. Why don't we just say the Naful Bevat Achat? That it fell on the same time, meaning both brothers died at the exact same moment. And it goes according to Shita Rabbi Yosef Gelilei, the Amar that he says, Hechal Tzamtzem means that we could be Mitzamtzem on the exact moment. Meaning the exact, because usually it doesn't exist. Exactly. Even if it's going to be a car accident, if it's going to be I don't know what, say it could be even a few seconds difference. And then that's it. It's not the same. No. It's no, if Hechal Tzamtzem, meaning the Mamash, it's the exact same moment. So why don't we just say that? And therefore, if it's going to be that both of them are going to fall at the same moment, it's Chod Zikukato from the exact same second. Okay? And that's why we said that it's going to be a sur. But in a normal case, that it's one after another. So therefore, it would help. So says the Gemara, Lo satam lan tana ke Rabbi Yosef Gelilei. The Tana Mishnah for sure is not going like Rabbi Yosef Gelilei. So says the Gemara, Elmaleh. So why don't we just say, we don't know which one, right, fell first in front of the Yibum, which means we don't know who died first. For sure that we don't go like how do you call it? Like Rabbi Yosef Gelilei, that it was exactly. But still, even if it was going to be one after another, mamash, a few minutes or an hour, we don't know which one came first. So he comes and he says, Yachiv, so, Hainu Diktani, that's what we learned in the continuation of the Mishnah, Kadmu ve'kansu yotziu, that if they did get married, so then they divorced them. So Bishlama Rishona, I understand that it's going to be the first one that he has to get divorced, or Amnina Lebes, we're going to say, Man shari lecha, who permitted her to get married to you? Why did he get married to you? So therefore, okay, we understand, get divorced, right? Ela shniya, but according to the second one, according to the second one, he comes and he says, Ela shniya amar chavrai shniya yibem, right? Ana rishonam yibem. The second one could come and he say, 1 second. He says, my brother came and he did yibum to the chot, which came to the second, which fell second. I did yibum to the one that fell first, and she's permitted to me. Which means, because since the second one was already done yibum, so now the first one becomes permitted again. Because remember, once the first one's done yibum, come on, that's it for the entire family, right? That's it. So he says, that there's an isur. So where are we going to come and tell him that he has to get divorced? So answers the Gemara, you're right. I know the Kamaleh, that's why we said in Shitat Rabbi Yochanan to Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina, Achayot en yodea mishanan. I don't know who was the one that taught Achayot in our Mishnah, because Be'emet, I don't see any isur. Meaning that they could be doing yibum. Okay, fine. Tanan, we learned in a Mishnah. Aita achat mehen asura le'echad isur arva. Asur ba umutar ba'achota. So we said that if you had a family connection, so if you have a family connection, so therefore we said, and what was the family connection? It was an isur arva. For example, let's say the mother-in-law. So then asur ba, so he's not allowed to get married to the mother-in-law, obviously, but mutar ba'achota. He's permitted to get married to the achot. So we just said like this. Here you have Bat Rachel. She's going to be prohibited. Sorry, Rachel is going to be prohibited on Levi because of her daughter Bat Rachel. Okay, B'isur erva. This is Isur erva. It's the mother-in-law. So Asur ba umutar ba'achota. So now Levi cannot get married to Rachel. He cannot do yibum to Rachel, but he could do yibum to Leah. So if you see here, Arba Achim Hem, there are 4 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, right? And 2 sisters, Rachel and Leah. Reuven comes and he takes Rachel, Shimon comes and he takes Leah. Rachel already had a daughter. Okay, so Levi gets married to Bat Rachel from another husband. Okay, but remember, it can never be from the same husband, because that means Reuven does not need to do Yibum. So Rachel had a daughter from another husband. Reuven and Shimon died without children. Now their wives fall in front of Levi Yehuda. Now Rachel cannot get married to Levi because it's the mother-in-law. So therefore, Levi is permitted to get married to Leah. Okay, but Yehuda is prohibited on both of them because both of them are zekukot lo, and each one is achot zekukato. Meaning, since Rachel and Leah could both get married to Yehuda, if he gets married to Yehuda, that's achot zekukato. If he gets married to Rachel, achot zekukato. So Yehuda cannot do yibum to none of them, but Levi could do yibum to Leah. Because since he's a Yisur Ervam, Rachel, because he can't get married to Rachel because it's the mother-in-law, so therefore, automatically, he's permitted to go to do Leah. That's what we just said here. Asur bah, he's a sur in Rachel. Mutar ba'achotan, he's permitted in Leah. The Sheni Yehuda is a sur b'shtehen. He's going to be prohibited in getting married to both of them. Okay, Sal Kadaiti, we would have thought, Tenafla chamotot tchila. The first Rachel fell to Levi, right? And only afterwards was Leah, meaning who died first, Reuven or Shimon? So we had a Sal Kadaitak that it was Reuven that died first. Okay, and only this Shimon. Says the Gemara, Ve'amai, why? Leiku chatan, right? Liabem hach teno chamoto b'reisha. Why can't we just say that the chatan, which is basically Levi, right, is going to come and he's going to do the yibum to the one which is not chamuto in the beginning, okay, which is basically Leah. Now chamuto, which is Rachel, is going to be to Yehuda, like a Yevamos, which was hutra, v'neesra, v'chazra, v'utra, v'tachzor le'tera rishon, which means this, okay? This case, what do we just say? Levi cannot be with Rachel because it's an Yisur Eva, but he could be with Leah. So we had a Salkadaiting at the beginning that first Rachel fell in front of Levi. So if Rachel falls in front of Levi, right, there's nothing what to do first, which means Reuven dies, there's nothing what to do. Levi cannot do anything, right? Why? He would have to do Chalitza, right? He can't get married to Rachel, it's his mother-in-law, right? And Leah is still married to Shimon. Yehuda cannot get married to Rachel because he can't do it either. So what happened? He comes and he says, why don't we just say that first what happened is that Shimon died. Now, can Levi get married to Leah? Of course he can. Why? Because Leah is nothing for Levi. Yeah, it's not his mother-in-law, right? So he comes and he says, Amar of Papa says, Kegon the nafla te'ina chamoto b'reisha. We're talking about Leah fell in front of Levi first. Okay, and then afterwards Rachel fell in front of him. So in this case, even if at the beginning, right, Levi would do yibum to Leah, Rachel is always prohibited on Yehuda because she was already prohibited during the time of the falling of yibum. So here, what happened was like this: if Levi comes and he does yibum to Leah, so now Yehuda would be able to get married to Rachel. The reason why is because both of them were prohibited to Yehuda because it's a chod zekukato. But once Levi does the yibum to Leah, right, and now Yehuda will come and take Rachel. Now Rachel becomes permitted to Yehuda. Because once Levi took care of Leah, so now Yehuda could take Rachel. So therefore, it was considered a case of hutra, right? V'nesra, she became prohibited. The chazra v'utra, then it became permitted again. So chazra tachzor le'tera rishon. Okay, fine. So that was the case basically. The case was the first came the one that fell in front of the mother-in-law, right at the beginning, and that's why we said that it was going to be the saracha. Then we mentioned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Bet Shammai Omrim. So here again you have, right? Okay, you have Resh Aleph. So we don't know if that's a Bilazar, Rabbi Eliezer, fine. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Bet Shammai Omrim. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Rabbi Eliezer says, Bet Shammai Omrim yikaimu, uBet Hillel Omrim yotziu. So basically we saw in the Mishnah that there was a machlok between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. What happens if they actually came and they got married? Remember, we're talking about the four brothers getting married to the two sisters, two brothers to two sisters. Both the brothers that were married to two sisters died, and now one of them did actually do yibum. What's halacha? Yotziu or lo yotziu? Bet Hillel says yotziu. Bet Shammai says they're allowed to stay with them. Rabbi Shimon says yikaimu, and Rabbi Shaul says kala yalem lebet Hillel b'dvar zeh. It was very easy for this. Shebet Hillel or shebet Shammai omrim yotziu, Bet Hillel omrim yikaimu. So basically, he comes and he says the opposite. The Bet Shammai were the ones that said yotziu, and Bet Hillel were the ones that says yikaimu. That means Bet Hillel were the ones which are lenient, not strict. Okay. Rabbi Shimon keman. Who does Rabbi Shimon go like? Ike Bet Shammai. If you're going to tell me his kavanah is that Bet Shammai hold this Hainu Rabbi Eliezer. So that is Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer said Bet Shammai omrim mikaimu, Bet Hillel omrim yotziu. So that is right. That Bet Shammai says you're allowed to stay with them. Ike Bet Hillel. If you're going to tell me that the kavanah is that he holds like Bet Hillel, Hainu Abba Shaul. So then that's like Abba Shaul. Abba Shaul was the one that said, right? Kala yalaim lebet Hillel, right? B'davar zeh. Because one more time, Rabbi Shimon comes and he says, Yikaimu. What? He's going like Bet Shammai? But if he's going like Abba Shaul, right? If he's going like a Bet Hillel, so then he's going like Abba Shaul. So who's he going like? Okay, everyone saw it. One more time, you had Rabbi Eliezer Omer, right? Bet Shammai Yikaimu, Bet Hillel Yotziu. Rabbi Shimon Omer Yikaimu, Nekuda. That's it. And then Abba Shaul says, you flip Bet Hillel and Bet Shammai. So ask the Gemara, who's Rabbi Shimon going like? If he's going like Bet Shammai, so then that's Rabbi Eliezer, okay? And if he's going like Bet Hillel, so then that's like Abba Shaul. So he comes and he says, this is what it means to say. Lo nechleku Bet Shammai or Bet Hillel b'davar zeh. According to Shtat Rabbi Shimon, he comes and he says, according to everybody, right, whether it's Bet Shammai or Bet Hillel, they could stay with their wives. So he argues on Rabbi Shimon, right? Sorry, Rabbi Shimon argues on both Girsal, meaning also on the Girsal of Rabbi Eliezer and also the Girsal of Abba Shaul. And he says there's no machloket between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. According to everybody, right, they're allowed to stay married. Okay, next. Hayta achad mehem asura ala echad isur erva, right? And then the isur ba mutar b'chata. Says the Gemara, hatanina chad zina. We already learned it in another Mishnah in Kaf Amud Aleph, which means this Mishnah that it says that if there was going to be an isur because of an erva, we already learned this Mishnah, right? In Kaf Amud Aleph, achota keshehi yevimta o choletzet o yovemet bit. If it's going to be achota, which is her yevama, so therefore it's going to be that she does or chalitza or yibum. So therefore, what are we learning it again? It says Gemara tzricha. We need both cases. Diashmin and hatam. If it was going to be that we learned it over there in the Mishnah, mishum deleka lamigzar mishum hasheni. There, right? If we were going to teach halacha over there, we would have said dafka over there that there was only one yavam. So if there's going to be only one yavam, he's allowed to do yibum. Why? Because I'm not going to say that maybe the other one will also do yibum. There's no second yavam. But over here, the mishum hasheni, that you can make a gzera because of the second brother. Elmaleh, I would say that even the first brother cannot do yibum. So therefore, I can teach you that you're allowed to do yibum or chalitza, either or. The Yashvin Hacha, if it was going to teach us halacha here by two brothers, because remember over there we was talking about only one brother. Okay, and here we're talking about two brothers. Okay, so he comes and he says mishum diika sheni tekamuchach. He says because there's a second brother that is going to come and he's going to stop from doing yibum, and therefore it's muchach. It's going to be muchach for us that you're not allowed to do the yibum. Aval hatam, why? Because of chodzukurto. Aval hatam, over there in the second perek, which was talking about one brother, teleka sheni, that there's no other brother. Elmaleh, I would say that they're not allowed to, because maybe you're going to permit getting married to a chodzukurto. So tzricha, that's why I needed both cases. Our Mishnah and the Mishnah of Daf Kaf. Next, two dots. Isur mitzvah, right? Isur mitzvah or kiddusha. We said also choletze v'lo mityabemet. Says the Gemara Hanami Tanina. We also learned this above, right? In Perek Sheni in Daf Kaf, Kaf Chet Amud Bet. Yeah, 28b now. So he says Isur mitzvah v'isur kiddusha choletze v'lo mityabemet. We already learned Isur mitzvah or kiddusha. They do chalitza, they don't do yibum. And so the Gemara Hata misur mitzvah lechuda. There, it was only a case of Isur Mitzvah, right? Which was, remember, Isur Mitzvah is of Shniot Larayot, okay? Of the second immoral cases, right? Like the extension of the first ones. So he says, Hacha over here, we're talking about Isur Mitzvah and Achota, because she's a Chot Zekukata. So Sal Kadai Mina, I would have thought to say, Lekim Isur Mitzvah Binkom Isur Erva, that I would put the Isur Mitzvah instead of the Isur Erva. And then you could do yibum. Kamash Malan comes teach you that the Mishnah said that that's why the achot is going to be asura. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Why? You should do yibum. Kevin the Midoraita Ramya Kamei, right? He says because Midoraita, she's falling in front of her. So if he's going to do yibum, kapaga be'achot zukukato, right? Which means now you're going to have achot zukukato, which means like this: Isur mitzvah is only the Rabbanan. If Isur Mitzvah is only the Rabbanan, but it's Shniot Larayot, so since Mina Torah, okay, right, she does fall, okay, in front of the Yavam. So therefore, if he's going to do the Yibum, now it's going to be a Chod Zukukato. So says the Gemara, Sal Kadad Amina Mishum Mitzvah Vur Rabbanan, Kamashmana. I would have thought to say in the Havamina that in order to be Mekayem the Mitzvah Yibum, Chachamim made an extra takana, and they didn't permit the sister in Isur Mitzvah. Kamashmalan comes teach you, right, that both of them are going to be asura. Okay? If one of them is asura because of isur erva and the other one is isur erva, so he says, why do we need this case? Because we said, remember, meaning on one of them, you remember there was a case of the mother-in-laws, right? So we said that it was this one was this mother-in-law, this one was the other mother-in-law, so they're permitted in the other side. They crisscross. Okay, so he said, hatu lamali. Why do we need this case also? Hainu hach. It's the exact same thing. Mali lecha, mali litre. What's the difference between one person and two people? So says the Gemara, tzricha, we need both of them. Diashvin and hatam. If it was only the case over there, mishum dikesheni de mochiach. The same answer that we gave before. Here, there's a second brother which is mochiach. But here, the leka sheni mochiach. But over there, sorry, hacha is over there in Daf Kaf. When there was not a second brother which was mochiach, Elmaleh, I would say that you can't do yibum because you're going to have a chodzuk. And if it's going to be over here, the opposite. Both of them are going to be mochichim because each one is biyabem dafka, the one which is permitted to him, and he cannot do yibum to the chodzuk kuto. But in the other case, no, you don't do that. So tzricha, that's why we need both cases. We'll continue here on the two dots. So we were by the two dots where it says Zohi She'amru. This is what we said, that the sister, which is also the Yevamah, or she does Chalitza, or she does Yibum. Zohi Lemiute Mai. What does it mean exactly? Zohi. This is the one. What is this coming to exclude? So Lemiute Isur Mitzvah Lezeh, Isur Mitzvah Lezeh. So the Mishnah is coming to teach you that both of the sisters are going to be prohibited to do Yibum. So therefore, we're coming to say beforehand, we just said that it was going to be Isur Erva. It was permitted for every Yabam to do the Yibum to the other sister. Now we're saying it's prohibited. So Hatul Amali, why do we need the same case? Hainuhach, it's the exact same thing. Mali Lechad, Mali Trei. What's the difference between one brother Yibum and two brothers with Yibum? Which means the case in Daf Kaf was talking about that there was only one brother doing the Yibum. Here in our Mishnah, it's two brothers doing the Yibum. So says the Gemara, I would have thought to say, when do we say that we're going to place the Isur Mitzvah instead of Isur Erva? Only if you can make a gezerah because of the second brother. Remember, Isur Erva means that there's a relationship, a blood relationship, which prohibited midoraita to be with this person. For example, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, all that's called Isur Erva. Right? Isur Mitzvah was Shniot La'arayot. Shniot La'arayot was secondary level of immorality. So if it's not going to be the mother-in-law, it's the mother of the mother-in-law, right? So that's what it was. So says the Gemara, Aval hecha deleka lemigzar mishum sheni. But if you're not going to make a gezerah because of the second one, ema lahayu kimna isur mitzvah bimkom isur erva, ulahayu kimna isur mitzvah bimkom isur erva. We have money. You should do yibum. Kamashmananda, we don't say such a case. Okay, Amar Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda comes and he says, right? Amar Rav in the name of Rav. Bekulan ani kore bahen. Okay, in all of them, I'm going to say this case. Rav Yehuda metargem. However, though, Rav Yehuda is going to come and he's going to be translating this only from chamoto and onwards, only from the mother-in-law and onwards. But in the six first cases of the Mishnah, remember in the first cases of the Mishnah, it was all to do with the daughters. So it had to do with his own daughter, right? His granddaughter from the daughter or granddaughter from the son, the daughter of the wife, the granddaughter from the wife from the son, and the granddaughter from the wife from the daughter. So the first six cases of our Mishnah and Yevamot, how we started the Masechet, was talking about the daughters. And then it went to the mother-in-law. So it says the first six cases, we don't say this. My time out, what's reasoning? It's to do with his own daughter. We're only talking about the case of two sisters is only from on a scene where he violated a woman. Right? Aval, but but by Niswin, you cannot find, meaning by marriage, you cannot find this. Therefore, you don't want to bring the case of the daughter. We're only talking about Niswin, we're not talking about, right, on a scene. The Abaye is going to explain it. The Abaye metargem, even with this daughter. When? Manusato, from his violation. But since you could find that the daughter will fall in front of him because he went and he violated a woman, and then there was the daughter, and then the chule. If you wanted, you could find its case in onasin. To have it, so it'll be like that. If you want, it could be also through marriage. But the wife of the brother, which was not in this world, we weren't talking about this. But this is only going to be according to Rabbi Shimon. But according to Rabbanan, you can't find it in a case according to Rabbanan. Okay, so beplukta lo kamaidi. So we're not talking about machlokot. But Rav Safra metargem. Rav Safra is going to come and he's going to answer it. He's going to explain it. Also with the Eshet Achiv Shelo B'Namo. Umashkach la b'shita acher. We're talking about 6 different brothers, right? Here, for example, right? This is Bito Meunasim, right? This is the daughter from Ones. Look over here on the top. You have, okay, there are 4 brothers. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. These are the 4 brothers over here. Okay, Reuven violated a woman. Okay, so Reuven violated this woman, there's Isha, and she gave birth to Rachel. Okay, now Shimon violated the exact same woman. Okay, and he had Leah. So now Rachel and Leah, yes, Rachel and Leah are the same, are sisters. Okay, so now Levi comes and takes Rachel, and Yehuda takes Leah. Look what an interesting family, no? Reuven and Shimon, they both violate the same woman. From each of them, they had a child. So Reuven had Rachel from this woman. Shimon had Leah from this woman. Now Levi got married. Levi was a brother. So Levi got married to his niece from violation. Yehuda also got married to his niece from violation, from Leah. Okay? Now what happens is that Levi and Yehuda die. Are you guys listening? Levi and Yehuda die. These are the 2 outer pictures. Okay? So now their wives fall in front of Reuven and Shimon. Now, 1 second, right? This is his daughter. Rachel is Reuven's daughter. Nachon, Rachel became his sister-in-law as well, because Levi got married to her. But Rachel was his daughter me'anusato, from a violation, right? Leah is Shimon's daughter from a violation. So in such a case, right, that's what it's saying over here. Since Rachel is permitted to Reuven because it's his daughter, and she's not Zukbalo, so she's permitted, right? So therefore, Leah is permitted to, right, Reuven. Now the same thing, because it's not going to be considered a chod zukukato. The same thing, which means like this: Reuven cannot get married to Rachel because it's his daughter. Since it's his daughter, she's disqualified. So Reuven can now get married to Leah, which was Shimon's daughter, right? And the same thing, vice versa. Shimon could not get married to Leah because it's his daughter, but now he could get married to Rachel, right? Because since Leah was disqualified, so now he could get married to Rachel. That was that case. Now we're talking about Eshet Achiv Shelo Yevamos, and we're talking about where there's 6 brothers. What are 6 brothers? Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zevulun. Okay, these are 6 brothers. Okay, now the diamonds instead of the square boxes is because they were not ba'olamo, they were not in this world. Okay, now you have these women here. So it says over like this: Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda are 4 brothers. Rachel and Leah are 2 sisters. That's why it has the lines here. Rachel and Leah are sisters. Okay? Reuven comes and he takes Rachel, okay, as a wife. Shimon comes and he takes Leah. Reuven dies without children. That's why the Aleph is over here on top of Reuven. Reuven first died without children. Okay? Then what happens? His wife falls in front of Levi and Yehuda, okay, to do Yibum, but not in front of Shimon because it's the sister-in-law, Achot Ishto, the sister's wife. So you can't. Now, before doing the Yibum, right, what happens is there was another brother born, Yisachar. So now Rachel, this woman here, cannot get married to Yisachar because it's Eshet Achiv Shelo B'Namo. The brother was not in the world at the same time when Reuven was born, when Reuven was alive. Okay? So then what happens? Levi does the Yibum to Rachel. That's this arrow here. So Levi does Yibum to Rachel. Then what happens? Okay? Shimon dies without children. That's over here. Shimon dies without children. So now his wife falls in front of Yisachar and Yehuda. Here's Yehuda and Yisachar, because here Shimon was at the same lifetime as Yisachar. Okay? So in front of Yehuda and Yisachar. Okay? Now what happens is, okay, but not in front of Levi because that's a Achot Ishto Yibum. Now what happens is before the Yibum of Leah, all of a sudden there was another brother born, Zevulun. That's this star, diamond over here. Okay? V'yabem Yehuda Leah. So now Yehuda does Yibum to Leah. That's this arrow. He does Yibum to Leah. Okay? And now what happens is Levi and Yehuda die without children. So here, Levi and Yehuda, they die without children. Now their wives, which are basically 2 sisters, Rachel and Leah, they fall in front of Yisachar and Zevulun. Right here, these 2 on the outside. So look, all these 4 brothers die. Now you have the Yisachar and Zevulun here. Right? So what happens? So it says, since Rachel is prohibited to Yisachar because it's Eshet Achiv Shelo B'Namo, and she's not Zekbalo, so she's right, so Leah is permitted, because it's not a Chod Zukukato. And the same thing the other way around. Okay, so therefore each one gets married to the other one. So Yisachar could get married to Leah, and Zevulun could get married to Rachel. Okay, fine. Next. So one more time, Rav Safra was mitagem even for Hechal Yevamos, Umeshkachla with 6 brothers. V'liba Rabbi Shimon. V'simanech, what's a siman? Met nolad v'yibem. Met nolad v'yibem. In this case, Reuven died, right? And Yisachar was born before the Yibum. And then again, Shimon died, right? Or Shimon died, and Zevulun was born before Yehuda did the Yibum to Leah. So that's a siman. Dying, a brother was born, and then the Yibum was performed. Dying, a brother was born, and then again the Yibum was performed. Okay? Reuven and Shimon nesuin l'shtei achayot. Imagine right now, Reuven and Shimon are married to 2 sisters. Reuven and Shimon married to 2 sisters, Rachel and Leah. Okay? Levi Yehuda are married to 2 other women.
Married.
1 minute, let me just see if it's the next one. No. They're married to strangers. Okay? So here you have, for example, Reuven and Shimon married to 2 women. Levi and Yehuda are married to 2 foreign women, Miriam and Chana. Okay? Met Reuven dies. Nolad Yisachar, then Yisachar is going to be born. Vibem Levi does Yibum to Rachel. Met Shimon dies, that's over here. Look, if you look at the cursor on the top, I'm explaining everything. Shimon dies. Nolad Zevulun was born. And then Yehuda does Yibum to Leah. So this one. Metu Levi Yehuda. Now Levi and Yehuda die. Now remember, Levi and Yehuda did the Yibum to the wives of Reuven and Shimon.
The cursor is too small.
Okay, fine. You can see it?
You can make it bigger. But you do it later.
Okay. So Levi comes here and he did the Yibum to Rachel. Now he's married to 2 women, Miriam and Rachel. Yehuda did the Yibum to Leah, so he's married to 2 women, Leah and Chana. Now these 2 died. So first it was Reuven died, then Shimon, and now Levi Yehuda at the same time. That's why it has Gimel together at the same time. Okay, Meti ben Levi Yehuda v'lo banim. Naflu leu kam Yisachar Zevulun. So they come in front of Yisachar and Zevulun. Hasura lezeh muter lezeh v'zeh lo muter lezeh v'achta she'ivimta. So here you have a case, exactly. So one which was permitted, Rachel was permitted to Yisachar. Okay, but so she's going to be now permitted to Zevulun. Leah was permitted to Zevulun. Now she's going to be permitted to Yisachar because of all these cases. Okay, so it says the Gemara, Lamali, right? Why do I need Yibem Yehuda? Velo Yibem Yehuda, even without, right? Even without the Yibum, you have the exact same case. Look at this picture. In this picture, it was only Levi did the Yibum. Already in this case of Levi doing the Yibum, you already have the exact same picture. I don't need that Yehuda, another brother here, to do Yibum to Leah. I don't need it. And you still have the exact same case. So says the Gemara, Nishum Tzara, because of the Tzara. What does that mean? Look over here. Reuven and Shimon Levi are 3 brothers. Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Right? Rachel and Leah are sisters. Reuven takes Rachel, Shimon takes Leah. Reuven dies without children. That's Aleph dying. Okay? His wife Rachel falls in front of Levi. Okay? Now, before Levi does, right, not to Shimon, because Shimon is married to the sister. So Rachel falls to Levi. Right before Levi does the Yibum, Yisachar is born. Okay? Now the Levi does the Yibum to Rachel, and now Shimon dies without children. So what happens? His wife falls in front of Yisachar, but not in front of Levi, because Levi is now married to Rachel. So now it's Yisachar. Remember, the Yisachar was in the same lifetime as Shimon, right? Because Yisachar was born before the Yibum of Levi to Rachel, but Shimon was still alive. So therefore, they were still in the same world. So that's fine. So now what happens is Leah is going to do Yibum to Yisachar. But before doing that, another brother is born, Zevulun. Okay? So now what happens is that after Zevulun was born, right, also Levi dies. So now Reuven and Shimon already died, now Levi died. So now you have, right, Rachel, that was to Levi, and Leah, right, that was from Shimon. So he says now what happens is Rachel and Leah, they fall in front of Yisachar and Zevulun. So now since Rachel is a surah to do Yibum, right, to Yisachar because it's Eshet Achiv Shelo V'Lomo, and he cannot, it's not Zekugalo, so first he's permitted to get married to Leah. And the same thing, the same way, vice versa. Okay? So that means in this case, why do we have to, here you have 2, 4, 5 brothers, you don't have 6 brothers. So the question is, why did you give me this case over here, which made it look much more complicated? Look at this one. This one looked much more complicated because there's an extra brother and other wives. You could have this case. And in this case, you already have it. The exact same thing. The exact same halacha. So answers the Gemara, Mishum Tzara. What does it mean, Mishum Tzara? You wanted that it should actually come and teach us because of the Tzara. Why? The Gemara says, Hateinach letzara. Tzara, tzara, Ma'ika. What are you going to say for tzara, tzara? So answers the Gemara, Kagon da'adav yavmina nami gad ve'asher. He says, no. Also, there was Gad ve'asher, right? That after the death of Levi and Yehuda, Gad ve'asher did yibum to the first wives of Levi and Yehuda, and then afterwards they died. So therefore, the wives of Gad ve'asher are called tzarat tzaratohen, which means like this. Over here, look carefully at the picture. Okay, that means why do we have to learn 6 brothers in order to have the tzara and the tzarot? Look at this case. This case is very, very interesting. Reuven, Levi, Yehuda, and Shimon are brothers. So at the beginning, there's 4 brothers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. These X's. These are 4 brothers. Okay. Rachel and Leah are sisters. Rachel, Leah, sisters. Okay. Then what happens? Reuven gets married to Rachel. Okay, and Shimon gets married to Leah. Okay. Now Levi and Yehuda get married to who? To other 2 sisters. Okay, so here it says Levi takes Bilhah and Yehuda takes Zilpah. So these are also 2 sisters. Okay, so now after everyone gets married, Baruch Hashem, happy family, 4 brothers with 4 pairs of sisters. It's like it's 2 and 2, 2 sisters and 2 sisters. Right? Levi and Yehuda got married to 2 sisters, Bilhah and Zilpah, and Reuven and Shimon got married to 2 sisters, Rachel and Leah. What happens now is that Reuven dies without children. So that's an Aleph. Reuven dies first. That's why there's an Aleph by the Reuven. Reuven dies first. So now when Reuven dies, his wife falls in front of Levi and Yehuda, right? Levi and Yehuda. It cannot go to Shimon because Shimon is the sister, the wife's sister. So Rachel cannot fall in front of Shimon. Rachel falls in front of Levi and Yehuda. Okay. Now what happens is before the Yibum is done, there's another brother born. Who's the other brother born? Yisachar. That's the diamond. So before the Yibum, Yisachar is born. And then he does Yibum. Levi does Yibum to Rachel. Okay? Now what happens? Shimon dies. That's Bet. So Shimon also dies. So now what happens is that when Shimon dies, his wife falls in front of Yisachar and Yehuda. It cannot fall in front of Levi because Levi is married to the sister, to Rachel. He did the Yibum to Rachel. So therefore, Leah cannot do the Yibum to Levi now, because then you would have 2 sisters with the same husband. So Leah falls in front of Yehuda and Yisachar. Remember that Shimon was still alive at the time of Yisachar. So therefore,
he's not yet born.
Yeah, exactly. So now before doing the Yibum, Yehuda to Leah, Zevulun is born. That's the next diamond. Okay, so the next diamond, Yibum, right? Now Yehuda does Yibum to Leah. Okay, so now what happens? Levi and Yehuda die without children. Let's give them at the same time, right here. So now remember, Levi and Yehuda, they are already married to 2 sisters. And now they're also married to a second set of sisters because Levi did Yibum to Rachel and Yehuda did Yibum to Leah, and they're also sisters. So here you have 2 sisters and here you have 2 sisters, all married to the 2 brothers. Now these 2 die. So now you have 4 women, which 2 sisters and 2 sisters, 4 women, which are now going to get married, right? They fall in front of Yisachar and Zevulun for Yibum. So now you have a problem now, right? What's going to happen here? All these 4 women fall in front of Yisachar and Zevulun. What's going to happen? So the two sisters, Rachel and Leah, are permitted to do Yibum. Why? But since Rachel is a surah to Yisachar, because it was which means that Yisachar was not born during the time. So therefore, she's muteret, right? So he's muteret to Leah, because it's not a chod zukuto. And the same thing with the other way around, right? Asura, since Leah is Asura for Zvulun, so therefore she's permitted, and right, and therefore she's going to be permitted because there's no chod zukuto. So therefore the 2 sisters are permitted, and also the 2 sisters of Bilhah and Zilpah are also allowed to do Yibum. Why? Because Bilhah is Asura to Yisachar, because it's Sarat Eshet Achiv, Shelo Yablolomo, then as a Kuralo, and therefore it's permitted, right? And Zilpah is also because like this. What happened here? Here, everybody's allowed to do Yibum. Now think about it. How do you have Yibum done to everybody? It's very simple. What happens like this? Rachel. Can Rachel ever do Yibum to Yisachar? No. Why? Because it's Eshet Achiv Shelo Yablolomo. Yisachar was never born when Reuven was born. So therefore, Rachel gets married to Levi, and she can never do Yibum to Yisachar. So now, when Levi and Yehuda die, Rachel could get married to Zevulun. Okay? Now the other way around, right? Leah cannot get married to Zevulun, right? However, though, now that she cannot get married to Zevulun, she could get married to Yisachar. Okay, because since she was disqualified because of Zevulun, she gets married to Yisachar. Now, what about Bilha and Zilpah? Bilha and Zilpah is the exact same thing. Why? Because Rachel got married to Levi. Bilha is a co-wife. And Zilpah is a co-wife of Leah. Since they're co-wives, that's what we're saying over here. Since they're co-wives, right, what happens is it's Sarat Eshet Achiv Shel Ramo. Sarat Eshet Achiv Ramo. Sarah is a co-wife. Eshet Achiv Shel Ramo. So therefore, Bilha cannot get married to Yisachar. Why? It's Eshet Achiv Shel Ramo, the Tzara of Eshet Achiv Shel Ramo. So for Bilha cannot get married to Yisachar. And Zilpah cannot get married to Zevulun, because it's Sarat Eshet Achiv Shel Ramo. So therefore now, also each one, they crisscross. So if we're just like the two sisters crisscross, right? Rachel could get married to Zevulun and Leah gets married to Yisachar, right? So too, Bilha gets married to Zevulun and Zilpah gets married to Yisachar. That was what we just did until the Mishnah. I hope it was clear. Very good. Baruch Hashem. Fine. Says the Gemara, the Mishnah, okay? Shlosha achim. There are three brothers. Shnaim mehem nisuin shtei achayot. Two of them are brothers, are married to two sisters. So that's the picture up here. Richard, if you look, Reuven and Shimon and Levi, three brothers. Reuven and Shimon are married to two sisters, Rachel and Leah. Okay? Or Isha Bita. Or it's going to be the mother and daughter. Or Isha Babida, or mother and granddaughter. Or Isha Bebena, or the mother and granddaughter from the boy. Okay? And now the two brothers die. And the two wives fall in front of Lewi. Right? They fall in front of the third brother. They do chalitza and not yibum. Okay? So they have to do chalitza and not yibum. One more time. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, three brothers. Leah and Rachel are two sisters. Reuven gets married to Rachel. Shimon gets married to Leah. Levi is mufneh. He's not married. He's without a woman. Shimon dies without children. So Leah comes in front of Levi. Right? Levi does ma'amar b'Leah. That's what we're going to see in a second. Okay? Okay? Remember, ma'amar is drabanan. He does kiddushin. Right? That usually you either have to do chalitza or yibum, you did kiddushin. And then afterwards, Reuven dies without children, and Rachel falls in front of Levi for yibum. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it says over here. Okay, Rabbi Shimon poter. Rabbi Shimon says it's going to be patur. If one of them was going to be prohibited because of a yisur erva to Levi, asur ba mutabachto. So then it's going to be asur for her, but permitted in the sister. Yisur mitzvah, yisur kiddusha, chol tzov lo mitzvah. They do chalitza, not yibum. Says the Gemara, Tanya, we learned in the right. Rabbi Shimon poter b'shtei mina chalitza yibum. Rabbi Shimon just said in the Mishnah, there's going to be patur also from chalitza and yibum for both sisters. Right? So you're not allowed to take both sisters. When they become tzarot, you cannot get married not even to one of them. Because according to Shitat Rabbi Shimon, the second that both sisters fall in front of Levi, automatically they become paturot. Because you cannot come and put the two sisters together right in front of Levi. So says the Gemara, why do we need this case? I know it's the exact same case. So he says, Rabbi Shimon, we do need it for Rabbi Shimon. Was I would have thought to say, Rabbi Shimon says, they don't do chalitza, no yibum. Ligzor, maybe I'm going to make a decree. Because of two sisters, which are normally, where it would fall in front of yibum. Kamashmanan comes teach you that Rabbi Shimon is permitting yibum in one of the sisters, which is not erva. Okay? The next, Isur mitzvah. Says the Gemara, and then Be'ezat Hashem we continue tomorrow.